Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Law Point. This is your host Reenu Thomas back again. Today we are going to deal with a very interesting topic. What if an act that looks like an offence is actually not a crime in the eyes of the law? Can someone be punished even when the law itself provides protection? Criminal law is not only about defining offences, but it also recognizes the circumstances where liability does not arise. In this episode, we have with us Mrs. Praseena Elizabeth Joseph, advocate on record of the Honorable Supreme Court of India, to discuss Section 14 to 19 of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023 and to emphasize the foundational principles of general exceptions.
Sections 14 to 44 of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita deals with general exceptions. Section 14 deals with mistake. Sometimes the law forces a person to act, especially soldiers, police officers, government servants, etc. If they follow the law or order given under law, they should not be punished later. Even if later it turns out that there was some mistake, still you are protected as long as that person's belief was honest and based on facts, not ignorance of law. This section 14 protects obedience to law and duty. For example, a police officer is ordered to seal a shop because it is said to be illegal. Later, it turns out that the shop had proper permission. Then the officer is not a criminal because he acted believing he was legally bound to do so. Section 15. Here the judges are protected because judges must decide the cases freely even if their decision later turns out to be wrong. If a judge passes an order while acting as a judge using judicial power and honestly believes the law gives him that power, then no criminal case can be filed against him. Even a wrong decision is not a crime. For example, a judge orders police custody of an accused. Later, a higher court says the order was legally incorrect. Still, the judge committed no offence because he acted judicially and honestly. Now, Section 16 protects a person who follows a court order even if the court which passed the order had no jurisdiction to deal with that particular case. That means if a court gives an order and a person follows it while that order is in force, that person is not committing a crime as long as he honestly believes the court had authority. Because the person executing that particular order is not expected to question the court's jurisdiction. For example, a court orders demolition of a building. Municipal officers demolish the building. Later, the order is declared invalid by a higher court. In that case, the officer who demolished the building committed no offence because they were following a court order in good faith. Now let's deal with Section 17. The law gives power to common people to catch criminals in serious situations like murder, theft, etc. If a person uses this power honestly and carefully, he is protected under law, even if later it turns out that he misunderstood the situation. For example, Raju sees Ramu doing something that looks exactly like a murder. Raju honestly believes Ramu is a murderer and catches him to hand him over to the police. Later, it turns out that Ramu was acting in self-defense. In that case, Raju has committed no offense. Now, let's deal with Section 18. If you are doing a legal activity in a proper way, using proper care, and something goes wrong accidentally, then also you are not a criminal. For example, a mechanic was repairing a vehicle properly. A particular part of the vehicle suddenly breaks and injures someone. In that case, if the mechanic followed the safety rules, then there is no offense committed by the mechanic. But if he was careless, then the protection of section 18 will not be applicable to him. Now let's deal with section 19. Even if you know your action may cause some harm, the law excuses you if the following things are in order. You had no bad intention, you acted honestly, you were trying to prevent a bigger and immediate danger. For example, a ship captain must choose hitting a boat with 30 people or changing the direction and possibly hitting a boat with 2 people. It changes direction to save more lives. Then in that case, even if the smaller boat gets hit, the captain committed no offense because there was no intention to hit the boat, but it was because intention was to save the life of 30 people, danger was immediate, choice was reasonable. For example, there is a massive fire. Raju pulls down nearly houses to stop the fire from spreading. Even though some property is damaged, Raju has committed no offense if he has done honestly to save the life of people. So today we have dealt with sections 14 to 19 of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. The rest of the provisions of general exceptions we will deal with in our upcoming classes. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Meet you in the next episode.